Hello, beautiful peaches. Welcome to the Macros, Metabolism, and Motivation Beautiful Peach podcast. I'm your host, Caitlen, here to help you find your most unwavering love, beauty, and kindness for yourself inside and out. I will be teaching you nutrition and macro tracking secrets, reverse diet and metabolism health tips and tricks, and motivating the heck out of you so you want to leap up and start conquering your goals right away. I am here to help bring you the light at the end of the tunnel so you can discover that self-love and truly become the most confident, beautiful peach possible. So grab a pen and a piece of paper, or if you're in the car or at the gym, go ahead and bump up your volume just a little so we can drown out those gym grunters next to you, and we can go ahead and dive right in. Don't forget to snag your completely free high-protein macro cookbook by simply doing a 5-star rate and review on this podcast. All you need to do is submit a 5-star rate and review, then send us your name and email through the link in the show notes so we know exactly where to send your cookbook. By submitting your 5-star rate review, this will also automatically enter you into the weekly podcast macro calculator giveaway. Every week, I give away a copy of my See You Schmidt macro calculator to one lovely winner who leaves an awesome 5-star rate and review. This winner is announced every week on my Instagram story as well as my newsletter email list. So leave that 5-star rate and review, and I'll see you in the episode. What is up, my beautiful peaches? I am so excited for today's episode. We are going to be talking all about how a calorie deficit can actually sabotage your weight loss goals. And so many people think, I am in a calorie deficit, I should be losing weight, but I'm not. If anything, you might even be gaining some weight back. If that is you, this is your kind of episode, because I will be talking all about your calorie deficit. I will be talking about the different mindsets that come into play with calorie deficits. It's just so simple. Calories in versus calories out. That is not the truth, my friend. And we will be talking about that and just taking a deep dive in some action steps to help you. Number one, make sure your calorie deficit is working for you. And if you are in a plateau, if you are in a space where your weight loss goals are not happening, I've got some action steps to help you get that moving forward. So let's dive on into the episode. I am super duper excited. And I want to talk about first a couple of phrases that really just ruffle my feathers when I hear them. I see and hear them all the time on social media. Back when I was in my master's degree, I did a lot of different studies and a lot of research on what's going into the diet mentality as someone who has personally struggled with the cycle of restriction followed by the binge because we're not able to maintain that restriction, which then gives us all of that food guilt because we're like, oh my gosh, I have now just gotten off track. Now I have to start over. And then you start over and it's that cycle playing on repeat. I have personally experienced that in the past, and now being on the other side as someone who has her bachelor's degree in nutrition and dietetics and then went on to get my master's degree in exercise science and sports nutrition, where I wrote my master's thesis on the human metabolism, on reverse dieting, on tracking macros and the diet mentality. So I have been in that place in the past, and now being on the other side, I hear weight loss is so simple. It is just calories in, calories out. And I don't disagree that weight loss can be simple when you actually have the proper game plan, when you have that roadmap that fits perfectly for you, which is why it's so important to me as a coach to teach the what, the why, and the how. When we're knowing what we're doing and we're having the understanding of what we're doing, it allows us to say, hey, no, I get it. I see why I want to be reverse dieting. I see why I want to be tracking macros. So here are a couple of phrases that really just ruffle my feathers. Weight loss is so simple. It is just calories in, calories out. And my friends, yes, weight loss can be simple if you have the actual game plan that is fitting to you, that is custom to your metabolism, to your body, if you have the proper macros. But it is not just calories in, calories out. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. The other saying that I hear all the time, you just need to be in a calorie deficit. But what about those women who are in a calorie deficit and are not seeing that weight loss happen? What about them? Is that calorie deficit actually sabotaging their goals? And last but not least, just stop eating carbs, just stop eating sugar, you'll lose weight. Please don't stop eating those carbs. Sugar is totally fine. My freezer is completely full. I love chocolate. That is my go-to when I was younger and trick-or-treating with my friends. I would be the one who would always trade all of the Jolly Ranchers and the Starburst and all of those things for the chocolate. Oh, it is so good. So side note there, sugar is a-okay. You just need the right game plan to really help you. You need that roadmap that is custom to you to get you to where you need to go. And we'll be talking about some of those action steps in just a little bit. So what I want to talk about is those women who are in a calorie deficit and you are not seeing those changes that you want to have happen. And you're starting to think, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe my calorie deficit isn't enough. You see those people on social media who are saying, it's just calories in, calories out. Just cut out those carbs. Don't eat sugar. Just be in a calorie deficit. And you're starting to think, oh my gosh, maybe I should be going into an even further calorie deficit. Maybe you're eating 1,200 calories and you're like, I need to start eating 900 calories. But in your mind, you're starting to think that is such a restricted place. And it causes that uneasiness. It causes that stress. So I really want to talk about that because the women who have done keto in the past and it didn't work, there's a reason why keto did not work for you. It is not something that is sustainable. It is not something that is maintainable. It is not something that I would ever recommend. Actually, one of the quote unquote rules says that it's actually not something that you should be doing long term. But one of my biggest pet peeves is it never tells anybody the impact of when we are in that lower carb space, when we are in that massive calorie deficit. What's actually happening is it's slowing our metabolism. So the reason people have all of this weight regain once they finish doing keto, once they finish their low carb diet, they end up gaining the weight back because nobody teaches them what to do after that calorie deficit, which is why I'm so passionate about teaching you, right? We want to heal our metabolism. And also there's so many better ways to lose weight without being in a deficit, without being in this crazy restricted place, without doing keto. And the thing too is so many women have spent endless hours, months to decades. I had somebody reach out for my Beautiful Peach Mastermind a couple days ago. I think she actually might have said that she's been going through diet since her high school or college, but she said for 4 decades, she has been dieting for 40 years. She has been reading article after article of which food category to get rid of. Should I do low carb? Should I do low fat? And the problem is when we're not finding the what, the why, and how behind what we're doing, it's not going to lead us to that sustainable long-term change. And the industry today just uses fear as a method to really corral women into their little diet trap. And it drives me bonkers because we don't need to be dieting, but it's all we know, which again comes back to why I'm so passionate about sharing a method of the way that our body actually works in order to lose that weight to where we can ditch the dieting once and for all. We can shut that dieting industry down and it will be amazing and phenomenal. So it's really important for us to learn the what and the why and how and really walk through that, okay? So I first want to walk through why just eating in a calorie deficit is not necessary. A massive restriction for a prolonged period of time isn't necessarily going to help you lose weight and could very, very likely be causing your plateau. The second thing is why calories in versus calories out is not the best practice for fat loss. If you want long-term fat loss, calories in versus calories out is simply not the answer. And then there's action steps that you can take today. If you're like nodding along and you're like, yeah, that's me. Yes, I've done low carb and I don't like it. All the different things for the many, many decades and I don't like it. So let's go ahead and dig in. I don't want to wait any longer. I want to dive into these goodies. So the first category of a calorie deficit that will not work that I see happening all the time is women who are going to things like MyFitnessPal, really any automated calculator. And that's such a trend today. And I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know why this is trending right now. And I've seen an uptick of women who are going to these automated calculators and typing in what they want to do, you know, their height, their weight, their age, their activity factor. And these calculators are shooting out these answers. And I've seen this with reverse dieting too. I've seen so many women coming to me saying, hey, I'm just adjusting my calories by 50 calories or 100 calories. And I'm like, that's not what we want to be doing. We don't want to just be adjusting by 50 calories to 100 calories. That's not the way that our body works. We want to be very strategically adjusting Our macros, our protein, our carbs, and our fat, they are adjusted separately. They are adjusted week by week. Some weeks they are not adjusted. And it's really important to keep your eye on all of these different variables. And it's really not as complex when you have that solid roadmap. And I'll go ahead and I'll dive into that a little bit later for you guys. When it comes to our body, when it comes to long-term changes, we don't just want some sort of cookie cutter answer. And that's what's driving me absolutely crazy about this world of calorie deficits is so many people come to me, for example, eating 1,200 calories or eating 1,500 calories, and they're at this lowered intake and not seeing changes happen, and really quite often seeing weight gain happen as well. The weight regain happening, they are in this deficit and they are just in this panic mode. We don't feel good when we are not seeing those changes happen, and we really don't feel good when we are in a massive calorie restriction. We've started to binge eat. We started to have all of these food rules in our head, and also we're seeing that weight regain happen. It causes this uneasiness. That's the only thing that we can focus on. Back when I was in that cycle of restriction, binge eating, food guilt starting over, my mind was so focused on dieting and on searching Google, seeing what I need to be doing next, going to Instagram and scrolling through. That's where, I've been coaching for the past 6 years and I have built my business, and you probably have found me through some sort of social media. And that's amazing. And that makes me happy. And it makes me want to hug all of you because I get so excited. And also, I think it's really, really important to be aware of the sources of information that you are following. I used to follow this person who talked a lot about reverse dieting, talked about tracking macros, and he was actually pretty educated and a good solid background to him. And I'm like, I like what you're sharing. But over the years, he started to turn to this guy who was like screaming in the camera. And I'm like, I'm so intimidated by you. I can't handle it. And it's funny because he would yell at his followers. And after I was done listening to his videos, I personally felt stressed out. However, after I was watching it, I started to think he was actually starting to make those who were watching his stuff feel like they were the problem. It really, really drove me crazy. He actually was one of the people who said, it's just calories in, calories out. I think it makes women feel really lost and confused when we see all of those things that says it's calories in, it's calories out, just eat low carb. All of these different things that are evoking this panic, something is wrong with me. I am eating low carb, nothing's happening, something is wrong with me. I am in a calorie deficit, nothing's happening, something's wrong with me. I want you ladies to be very aware of the sources that you are getting your information, because there's so much on social media. And as someone who is an expert in this industry, I find myself frustrated when I see different influencers and different information in social media that is promoting information that is extremely inaccurate and that is causing that fear in women. I want you to be very aware of where you are getting your information. So all of that clarification to the side, when we are eating a low calorie deficit, we are focusing on not eating carbs. We are focusing on eating 1,200 calories. And we're at a point where it's not working. The reason is because you are already in a calorie deficit. So going down to 900 calories at this point, and 900 calories is just an example. You may be eating 1,700 calories or 1,500 calories, and you're in a calorie deficit and you're feeling restricted and you're seeing that weight regain. If you go into these further calorie deficits, what's going to be happening is you're pushing yourself further and further into an unhealthy, prolonged calorie deficit. And you're not going to see any added weight loss at this point. The reason being is your body is essentially telling you, when you're seeing that weight regain happen, your body is telling you, SOS, I need more food. This is nothing to be stressed about. I think it's really important to note that it is quite easy to heal your metabolism, to start seeing that weight loss happen again when you have a solid roadmap and when you have that game plan. So I don't want you to listen to this and say, oh my gosh, I have a slow metabolism. Oh my gosh, I need to eat more food. And don't go run and start eating a bunch of food. You want to follow a very strategic game plan here. And that's when reverse dieting comes into play, because it allows you to actually start to eat more, allowing us to heal our metabolism. And something else I do want to bring up here is I've also seen a lot of this just on social media and in today's world of everybody panicking about their hormones. And I think, yes, 1000%, there is a time and a place where you should go and you should get those hormones tested. And also, so many of my clients come to me without their period. And I think it's really important to note that yes, you may have some things that are out of whack. However, if you are in a prolonged calorie deficit, if you are seeing that weight fluctuation, if you're finding yourself bloated, if your libido is low, if you are struggling with your sleep-wake cycle, if you are struggling with your period, I think it's really important to note that you want to get out of that calorie deficit because that in its own will heal so many different things. And that's part of why when people say you just need to be in a bigger calorie deficit, it's not actually true, especially when you are already doing all of those things and you are not seeing those changes happen. I've talked about this in other episodes, but I really, really, really think it's important. So in my mind, when I have a client come to me, when somebody enrolls into my Beautiful Peach Mastermind, I look at them as a machine. I know it sounds so bizarre for me to be like, yes, I look at my clients like machines. What are you talking about, Caitlen? But when you think of a machine, what happens with that machine is you have a bunch of different gears that are all working simultaneously. They're all working together to keep that machine running in the right direction. However, if you have just one single gear that is a little bit wonky, what's going to happen is it's going to start to impact all of those other gears, and that machine is not going to be working the way that it needs to be working at its max efficiency. And this is why I think of my clients as machines. Each and every single one of my BPM clients has absolutely total different goals, metabolisms, lifestyles, bodies, diet histories, which is also why it's so important to note that automated calculators, automated adjustments simply will not cut it if you are wanting long-term success, if you are wanting a long-term change that is customized to you as an individual, to your goals, to your diet history. And when you look at the human body, when you look at an individual, there might be one piece, for example, your metabolism being slowed by a prolonged calorie deficit that might be a little bit wonky, that is then impacting your relationship with food as its own gear. It is now impacting your sleep-wake cycle. It is now impacting your libido. And that's the thing that people don't talk about, the negative effects that come from the prolonged calorie deficits. So when we're able to look at each and every single one of those individual gears and heal from the inside out, it allows us to step into this place where we are truly seeing long-term change. We are having the weight loss start to happen. We are having the natural energy for us to go run after our kiddos. We are having the confidence in our body because we are seeing those changes happen. So I want to walk you through some of the impacts of a prolonged calorie deficit on our body. It's the slow metabolism gear, right? And it impacts the rest of our body. So when we are in a prolonged calorie deficit, it's going to down-regulate our thyroid function, which has a huge role in regulating our metabolic rate. It's going to down-regulate our leptin, which has a function in the short and long-term energy availability. It's going to down-regulate our insulin, which is crucial in inhibiting muscle protein breakdown. It's going to down-regulate our testosterone. Yes, women have testosterone as well. This has a huge role in increasing our muscle protein synthesis and muscle mass. Down-regulate our NEAT energy. This is our energy outside of our planned going to the gym. So this is us getting up and walking our dog, or getting up and going and getting a glass of water. So if you have those days where you're like, I literally just want to sit on the couch all day long, and you're in a calorie deficit, it is because your body is down-regulating your overall energy in order to try and push that energy into keeping your body thriving. So it is turning you into a couch potato and decreasing your energy because it needs that energy to keep you fueled on the inside. So it is saying, what can I do to keep thriving? How can I maximize this energy so it'll have you lose the energy during the day to keep you sitting to try and keep that energy in the body? It is going to downregulate our exercise activity thermogenesis. This essentially means you will have less energy when you are working out. And this is a big thing. Something that's going to really impact a healthy metabolism is having really solid workouts where we are building muscle growth and recovery. That comes from eating adequate amount of foods. So when we're in a space where like, I'm not even seeing any muscle growth, I'm tracking my macros, I'm in this calorie deficit, where is my muscle growth? You actually can't put on that beautiful, adequate muscle when you are in a calorie deficit. You'll start to really notice those changes where your metabolism needs to be and a bit higher, which is always why I actually recommend, I teach this in the reverse diet course, which is what my Beautiful Peach Mastermind clients get. But there will be a point where your metabolism needs to be, and you want to go a little bit higher than that. Basically, all of these different things that I'm reading out, all of this downregulation, all of these changes that happen to your body, when it is in a prolonged calorie deficit, you want to have your body in a surplus long enough to where all of those pieces are starting to work again and your machine is working at its max capacity. Your body is feeling better and functioning at its best. So let me go ahead and continue through this little list here. So just do a quick recap. Downregulates thyroid function, leptin, insulin, testosterone, NEAT energy, exercise activity thermogenesis, so our energy in and out of the gym for the NEAT and exercise activity thermogenesis. It's going to upregulate our ghrelin, so these are hunger hormones. This is what stimulates our appetite. You will also notice a lot of women who are fasting or who skip meals or who have been in a prolonged calorie deficit actually have disruption to their hunger hormones. So something that I really like to work with my clients is helping them actually get that regulating again, have their hunger hormones regulating again, getting hungry when you should be hungry, feeling full when you should be full, having your body feel really great in that aspect to where you're not starving all the time, where you are not stuffed all the time and you're not even eating, but really getting that functioning at its best. Sex drive, our cycle is going to be messed with, our sleep-wake cycle is going to be messed with, our happiness is going to be messed with, and that is a laundry list of negative impacts that come from prolonged dieting that the diet industry simply does not talk about, which is why I'm here to talk about it for you. And the wild part about this is your body will go into what's called starvation mode. I was mind boggled when I read this and learned about this and did the research on this in my master's degree. I actually learned it in both bachelor's and master's, but it's wild. And our body actually cannot tell the difference between you being in a prolonged calorie deficit versus you being out in the wild and not being able to find food. So its natural reaction is actually to go into this safety mode, this starvation mode, to help keep you functioning. And the problem with the diet industry is it doesn't share all of these side effects. So you can keep cutting those calories, but my girl, I don't think that you should be doing that because we want your body to heal. We want you to see that weight loss happening again. We want that weight regain to stop. And when we're in this prolonged deficit, our body is actually trying to correct the calorie deficit. So your calorie deficit has actually started to negatively impact your progress, your weight loss goals, and your metabolism is being slowed to that lower calorie intake at the same time. For example, if you're eating 1,200 calories, your metabolism is going to slow down to that place. And when we feel restricted, we start to binge eat. Our body is in full protective mode. And I personally ignored all of these for many, many years. I tried fasting, I tried low carb, I tried keto, I tried the whole entire laundry list of diets. I tried them all. And the problem with this is when we stop with the calorie deficit, what's going to happen is we see that weight regain happen because our metabolism's sitting at a lower place. So let's say, for example, before we ever did our first diet, we were eating 2,000 calories. Then we say, hey, I'd like to lose weight. We go over to good old MyFitnessPal. We get our automated calculators. Don't do that. And we end up eating 1,200 calories because that's what those automated calculators shoot out. It's not customized to you. You might see some weight loss at first. However, your body's going to plateau. And then you're going to start seeing the weight regain when you stop eating in that calorie deficit if you don't do a reverse diet first, because you go back to eating the way you were before, which was, in our example, the 2,000 calories, meaning your metabolism is sitting at that 1,200 calorie point. You are now eating 2,000 calories. That is 800 more calories a day. Therefore, you are eating 800 extra calories than what your body and your metabolism is used to a day, which leads to that weight regain. So if this is you, I want you to understand that it is not something to panic about if you are in a prolonged calorie deficit and you are not seeing changes happen. Please don't panic. It's okay. It's important to know that a lot of times we feel, oh my gosh, I'm a failure. Nothing's ever going to work for me. That's not true. And I always say, you only fail if you stop trying. And also, I don't believe in failure. I think it teaches us what we do and don't want. It leads us to where we are today. It has altered the trajectory of your life, of your world, to lead you to this podcast episode. You know, if you want to go that far and to learn about the fact that a prolonged calorie deficit is not where we want to be, but we just need to, number one, start tracking our macros so we can really make sure we have that solid foundation. If you have never tracked your macros before, I highly suggest checking out. I have a macro calculator that will literally give you your custom starting macros. It'll actually walk you through exactly where your metabolism sits. So how low is your metabolism? How high is your metabolism? It'll walk you through figuring out those custom starting macros so you're able to actually start tracking those numbers. And it actually helps you figure out the protein, carbs, and fat that we don't do by percentages. I calculate those separately, so it'll walk you through all of those pieces. But if you're someone who's like, I've never tracked macros before, I don't understand what they are, go ahead and go grab. I have a totally free little guide. It's called a macro and food freedom guide. I've filled it entirely with all kinds of information about tracking macros and really wonderful resources there. I also have plenty of resources in my other podcast episodes, but I realized that I did bring up tracking macros a couple times here. And if you are brand new to my podcast, I need to give you ladies some information and insight on that. However, if you are not brand new to tracking macros, or you are just more here for learning about healing your metabolism, getting out of that calorie deficit, and your brand spanking new to the idea of healing your metabolism, when you're like, whoa, I'm excited, how do I do this? I want you to know that I have a couple options for you. So my reverse diet course is something that I actually created. This is a solid roadmap that will teach you exactly how to reverse diet. You know the what, you know the why, you don't know the how. And I wanted to teach that to you because it's a lot more complex than just adjusting your calories by 50 calories or just adjusting your 100 calories or just make an adjustment every week. There's a lot more that goes into it. And it's an in-depth process that you want to be paying attention to all of those variables. You want to be paying attention to different variables that happen every single week. There's a lot of different biofeedback, and there's times where we do want to adjust macros. There's times where we don't want to adjust macros. We want to be looking at making sure that our hormones are in check, that we want to be making sure that our weight's not going wild, because there are so many different variables. I actually have in the reverse diet course, they added in a bonus. It's a reverse diet checklist, and it's literally a checklist that you can go through every single week. So there is zero question on what you need to be doing. And you can literally print it off if you want to and put a check mark on all of the variables. And you can say, yes, I've checked everything off. Great, I can do that adjustment. And then even further, I actually have added in as a bonus my reverse diet plug and play checklist. This is literally my personal coaching template where you plug in your customized information. You also do actually get access to the macro calculator as another bonus in the reverse diet course, because I want to make sure that you have a solid foundation of your macros. I do not want you using any kind of automated macro calculations. We don't want to be doing that. We want to make sure that we are calculating our metabolic intake. We are exactly where our metabolism is and figuring out our macros based on our personal diet history, our personal metabolic information. And so I give the macro calculator as a bonus in the reverse diet course. So using this reverse diet plug and play, you can actually input your personal information and it will literally calculate exactly every single macro adjustment that you need to do for your reverse diet. I went completely all out with the reverse diet course because I know that it is the complex process when you don't know what you're doing. But because I have been coaching for 6 years, I have over 6 years of education. That puts me at 12 years. Oh my gosh, that's actually kind of wild. That is actually kind of cool. But I have seen and worked with thousands of women who are in this space where they come to me and they're like, I know I need a reverse diet. I don't know what to do. Help me, Caitlen. I'm here. I've got you. And so that's why I created my reverse diet course, to make your life easy. And because I want it to be something that's sustainable, because I want it to be something that's maintainable, I've actually even added in some extra components in there. I have a Beat the Binge blueprint working with you to help you get out of that binge eating, to really heal your relationship with food as you're healing your metabolism. And I've even actually added in, as another bonus, I added my C. Schmidt alcohol plug and play tracker as well that will help you. Literally, it's so easy. You simply input the calories of your alcohol and it will pop out exactly how you need to track those, and just making your life really, really easy so you're able to heal your metabolism, to have the clarity and understanding of knowing exactly what needs to be done so you're not stressed about trying to figure out what to do or trying to figure out what adjustments to make. No, you have it all there, when to and when not to adjust your macros, and it makes your life so incredibly easy. If you have any questions about the reverse diet course, I'm going to pop the link of that in the show notes. However, you are always welcome to reach out to me and to send me a DM on Instagram if you have any questions for me. I think sometimes we get so used to the comfort zone of the diet industry to where when we start to do something that's new and outside of our comfort zone, we start to get really, really nervous. And it's important to note that it's okay to feel those nerves. It's okay to feel, hey, I'm getting out of my comfort zone. This is something that's new. It's something that I've been dieting for so long that I feel oddly comfortable with dieting. be aware of that, but don't let it hold you back, because the longer that you let those fears hold you back, the longer you're going to stay where you are. And as someone who stayed stuck in the same place for many, many years because of those fears, and now being on the other side, I cannot even express to you, it is the most free I've ever felt in my life. And I feel like I've started to truly live my life. It's so wild because prior to reverse dieting, prior to tracking macros, I didn't realize how much my life was catered to dieting until after. And I realized my mind was stuck in dieting all the time. But once I was free from that, I was like, I'm living. I am traveling. I'm not stressed about food. I am experiencing memories and experiencing life and friends and family with this newfound gratitude. And you are so deserving of it, because when we fill our cup, it overflows into everybody else around us. And when I was dieting, when I was struggling, I was pulling from everybody else's cup. I thought that I was taking care of myself. I was not, and it was not fair to those around me. And I am so grateful to be in a place where I feel so amazing that my cup is overflowing into my family, into my husband, into my friends. That's what's important to me. So this episode made me really happy, because I think a lot of people don't realize, the laundry list of things that are going on when we are in a prolonged calorie deficit. And I think it's really important to note that when we're in a calorie deficit, there's more than just a slow metabolism happening. That whole laundry list of all the downregulations, thyroid, leptin, insulin, testosterone, NEAT, thermogenesis, ghrelin, sex drive, sleep wake, the laundry list of things going on. So we get to work on ourselves, and that's what's important. With all this, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I have some really cool ones coming up, so I'm super excited. And don't forget, it means the world to me when you leave a 5-star rate and review, letting me know anything, how much you enjoyed the podcast episode, if there's a specific episode that really got you excited. It makes my heart happy. So if you're listening to my episodes and you are finding that you are nodding your head along, that you are getting something out of it, it means the absolute world to me when you leave a 5-star rate and review. I read them, I sit there and smile. It makes me happy. So with all this, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, my beautiful peach. Don't forget to snag your completely free high-protein macro cookbook by simply doing a 5-star rate and review on this podcast. All you need to do is submit a 5-star rate and review, then send us your name and email through the link in the show notes so we know exactly where to send your cookbook. By submitting your 5-star rate review, this will also automatically enter you into the weekly podcast macro calculator giveaway. Every week, I give away a copy of my C. Schmidt macro calculator to one lovely winner who leaves an awesome 5-star rate and review. This winner is announced every week on my Instagram story, as well as my newsletter email list. So leave that 5-star rate and review, and I'll see you in the next episode.